My neighbour has come up with basically the scariest contraption that there ever was for horses. Should I talk about scaring my brother? But if you wear a new coat, oh my goodness, the world has ended. Hello everybody and welcome back to my podcast, Esme's Country Life. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about me visiting the King's Garden, giving my brother a little bit of a fright, and also we're going to be talking about my horse having a very scenic wee. Anyway, before we begin, I just want to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of the podcast, Red Post. Red Post is an equestrian and country store based in the UK, but they also ship all over the world. And I need to tell you, I know I said it in the last episode, but I'm going to say it again, that Black Friday is around the corner. And you know how you can get offers before other people for Black Friday at Red Post? Download the Red Post app. And also, if you're a Stride member, you get even earlier access before everybody else. So if you want to get those sweet, sweet deals, be sure to visit redpostequestrian.co.uk. Anyway, let's get into today's episode. So, let's start off with the King's Garden, because that is a very surreal thing to come out of my mouth that I have said. And that's what actually I got up to yesterday. So I have it all fresh in my mind to tell you the details, what went down, what happened. So I was very kindly invited to Highgrove, which, if you didn't know, that is like the King and Queen's country house, country estate. Very, very nice place, as you can imagine. So I feel very honoured to them for very kindly inviting me. So thank you, Highgrove. And thank you also to the King's Foundation. So we actually found out a little bit more about that charity when we were at Highgrove, that I'll get into a little bit later. But starting off, we arrived. And with these sort of things, you do have to, you have to bring a lot of ID. A lot of the time when I go into horse shows, that kind of thing, you have to bring some sort of form of ID. We had to bring basically all of the identification. We had to bring a passport, bring a driver's license, everything. And so it was basically like going to a really, really nice National Trust, but like top tier level of National Trust. If you don't know what the National Trust is, oh my goodness, I love the National Trust. So basically, if you're from abroad and you've never been to the UK before, if you ever come to the UK, please, 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 put it on your bucket list to go to a National Trust, because I love them. Basically, in the UK, there are a lot of old houses or basically country estates that get sold because they're quite expensive to run. And sometimes, not everybody can run a country estate. I surely couldn't. The National Trust buy them up, and then it means that people can go along, have a little look around. You find out about the history of the estate. I am a bit of a history nerd, so that kind of stuff I find very exciting. And they often have very pretty gardens that you can look around. When I was little, I used to always love going to them at Easter, because they'd always do like Easter egg hunts and that kind of thing, and you get a little Easter egg at the end. Anyway, Back to Highgrove. We're not talking about the National Trust, but anyway, that's my little thing for you guys. So we arrived and we went in, and there was this lovely little house that we went into, and we had a little cup of tea, and everyone kind of like started mingling. And that's when I realised, okay, this is very different to the normal content creator things that I've been to lately, because I was there with my dad, he was my plus one, and also my photographer, and we were chatting around. I was like, yeah, I am definitely the youngest person here. Like all of the other content creator ones I went to, it was mainly people in their 20s kind of thing. Here, I would say it was more people in their 30s and 40s. And my dad was like, I think that you were the youngest, and I was probably the oldest person there. But everyone was very lovely. We all had a little chat, that kind of thing. And then it was time to go on the tour. So we had a lovely tour around the gardens. Now, if you didn't know, you can have a tour around Highgrove, but you do have to book it, and it does have to be, I believe, in between the months of April and October. So at the moment, it's closed to the general public, and of course, you do have to book in advance, because sometimes, it's the King's house. He's going to be there, so they need to know who's coming in at what time. So what I found actually really funny, it was like walking around a really nice National Trust garden, la-di-da, very pretty, looking at all of the, gardens and the flowers and the shrubs, and then you'd walk around a corner and there'd be a guy there in full police uniform with a firearm, and you'd just be like, oh, okay, yes, we are, yes, not, this is not a national trust, this is the King's Gardens, so you're obviously going to have security. So that was very cool. And then we had obviously a lot of tour guides that were talking to us about the gardens, about all the different things there. A lot of it also was very nice that it was talking about kind of restoring nature and the countryside. So obviously, me being me, a country bumpkin, I was loving all of the stuff. I was, had a very, very lovely time. And then after that, we actually looked around a few buildings, one that I can't talk about because we weren't allowed to film any of it, which is sad, but that was very interesting. And then the other was a workshop, and part of the King's Foundation is that the money from the charity goes back into education, and a lot of that education is for crafts that are kind of dying. So for example, we saw some people and some students that were doing a lot of woodwork things, and they were making some very cool chairs. Again, I can't tell you what the chairs were for, but they were for some, I think one I can tell you that we were allowed to photograph, and that was they made one of the chairs that was used in the coronation, not the one that the actual king sat on, but some other ones that were there. So that was very cool, and it was really awesome getting to talk to all the students about the work that they're doing and about the crafts that they do. And I had a lot of admiration for them, because some of the stuff that they were doing, I was like, I would not know where to start. I would not be able to do this. So hats off to them. And then after that, we as we were kind of like walking along, that was one thing I found it quite, maybe this is just me, maybe I just felt a little bit more shy on that day, but I found it a little bit more difficult to talk to some of the other like content creators that were there. And part of that is because I think I very much had imposter syndrome. I was like, oh my goodness, there are content creators here that have been doing it for years. I mean, I've been doing it for years, but not in the capacity that they are. And I was like, oh wow, okay. I felt like a very small fish in a big pond. I think that's the best way to describe it. But there were some people I talked to, and they were really lovely and chatty. And I think we definitely took a lot longer than they were expecting, because everyone there were content creators, so everyone was getting all the pics. Especially there were some places that we stopped where like the house is in the background, or there were like really iconic views. So there was just like one pathway, and it was like one after another we like kind of formed like a very little queue, like very British, all like a little queue, and then we would take turns walking down this little pathway getting photos and that kind of thing. My dad, bless him, like he does this quite a lot of his job, with his job, like taking photos of me and that kind of thing. But I don't think he's not been to many kind of like content creator influencer kind of things. And he was like talking to one of the ladies at Highgrove, he was talking about the gardens and giving us the tour, like, this is like some sort of modern art kind of thing. There's just like people walking down, queuing up and getting photos. And he was like, oh my gosh, it's like, those videos where it's like influencers in the wild. It was literally that, but to the next extreme. Everyone was doing their poses, getting their photos. I mean, I can't talk. I was doing that as well. And you know what? It's my job. It's a funny old job, but I was just very grateful to be there. So that was good fun. But because we were taking quite a while, we were walking very slowly and getting all these photos and content, and there were some people vlogging and filming and that kind of thing. But by the time we got to kind of the end of the tour, they were like, okay, we're going to have to pick these people up in a minibus because they are taking their time. They are, they're holding up. We need to get them shifted out of here because, I don't know, maybe the king was arriving later. I don't know. But they wanted us gone, which is fair enough. We were taking our sweet, sweet time. So then they hopped us onto a minibus, which was a little bit of a party bus, actually. Had like neons in, which was quite funny. Especially as it just felt very odd because a lot of the people, everyone that was there was very well dressed as well. Like everyone had the same kind of English countryside vibe, that kind of thing, which also made me feel very imposter syndrome to be there because I was like, I'm just a horse girl. I'm just a horse girl that's doing some country stuff now, and I've been invited, and I was like, how am I here anyway? So we arrived and went back to kind of the base at the beginning, and then we were taken into this room where we had afternoon tea. Now I was like, this was probably the nicest afternoon tea I've ever had in my life. And because it was to celebrate kind of Christmas at Highgrove, the whole table was decorated with ivy and holly and beautiful candles and everything. I was like, oh my goodness, what is this? Like, it was just so fancy. And they came in and they there were these waiters and they put down the afternoon teas, and then I kind of looked over at my dad and I was like, oh my gosh, it's one each. We get one afternoon tea each. So, and they were huge. I mean, it was incredible. I was so glad that I didn't have any lunch. I had a very small breakfast because I knew that we were going to get afternoon tea. But oh my goodness, it was, yeah. I sent loads of pictures to my friend Lucy because she's a pastry chef and she was very excited about me showing her the afternoon tea. And then we had a little chat with everyone around the table. And then we went into the gift shop and I might have bought a few Christmas presents for my friends and family because they had some very nice Christmas things there. Some things I was like, okay, that is very expensive. That is not quite on the This Is Me budget. But a lot of the things in there, I was like, just more the food bits and bobs, actually. I've got a lot of foodie bits. But yeah, that was my time at Highgrove. It was incredible. So if you fancy a day trip in the summer and you want to do something a little bit different, I'd recommend going and having a tour there. Have a little look around. I think they're maybe doing some bits for Christmas coming up too. So go and check them out. Check out the King's Foundation. But anyway, that was my time at Highgrove. So it was very lovely. A very surreal day. Something to tell the grandkids one day, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where I'm like, how did that happen? How was that real? How was I invited? Who found out about me? Why was I on this list to come along? But anyway, it was a very, very lovely day. All right, next I'm going to tell you something that I've talked about on the podcast a little bit, but the story continues and I thought you would want updates. So, a little while back, if you're a regular listener to the podcast, you will know that when it was my mum's birthday, we went out to this little woodland fete and they had a antiques kind of stand there where they were basically selling lots of old things. Some things were a little bit creepy, and that included Alan. Now, if you don't know who Alan is, basically there's this really weird like wooden puppet. I think it's supposed to be a bottle stopper, like the bottom of him. I think it's supposed to go in like it's supposed to be like a cork kind of thing. Anyway, my mum saw him, was like, that's the creepiest thing I've seen in my entire life. So what did we do? We bought it for her birthday, wrapped it up as one of her presents, and there we go. That is Alan. So Alan has been many different places. On the family group chat, every now and again, somebody will take Alan, hide him somewhere, and then somebody will find him. You're probably going to be thinking, oh my gosh, Esme, your family is so weird. Yes, we are. But you know what? It's good fun. It's a little bit of a laugh. And it's just one of those things where you might be having a little bad day and then you'll see somebody's hidden Alan in the fridge and it'll just give you a little bit of a chuckle, a little bit of a laugh. So as you guys know, my brother has moved out. He is gone. And he stayed around the other weekend and we thought, how about we somehow hide Alan for him? We were thinking, we don't want him to find him straight away. Like, if we put him in his car, he'll probably find him straight away, that kind of thing. And normally, when my brother leaves, my mum, as you guys know, she likes to feed people. Her love language is giving people food. So my brother often, when he leaves, he has a little care package of some snacks and food and that kind of thing. And one of my brother's favourite food is dried mango, which is really random. I think it maybe is because when he was younger, he wasn't like the biggest fan of fruit, but for some reason he liked dried mangoes. Anyway, we thought, yes, we need to hide Alan in one of the dried mango packages. So anyway, we've had an empty packet, sealed him up, put him in the package, and then I want to say like 3-4 weeks went by, heard nothing. Each day, me and my mum would be talking to each other, being like, has Max found Alan yet? Has he found Alan yet? Anyway, no sign of Alan. So anyway, my brother's girlfriend went over and saw him the other weekend. We were like, you need to find the Alan mango and put it to the top of the pile, because we were like, oh, Max just must not be eating his mango. Anyway, about a week after that, we get a message on the family group chat, and it's a picture of my brother at work. Like, it wasn't just him at home, you know, having a little snack. He brought the snack to work with him. We're like, oh no, Alan has infiltrated his workplace. He opened up the packet and Alan was inside, and it was just, oh my gosh, it was so funny. We were laughing so much to ourselves, and we actually felt a little bit bad because we were like, poor Max, he must have been quite hungry that day at work because he didn't have any mango, he didn't have any snacks. I'm sure there were some other snacks that he could have got at work, but we just found that so funny. And I feel like that's the top Alan hiding space. Anyway, then me and my dad, we stayed at my brother's the other night because we were working the next day somewhere far away, so it's actually really lovely. I feel like we've seen Max more than when he was at uni. We just go and gate crash him, stay at his apartment all the time. Anyway, so we were staying there, and Alan returned, so we were like, oh my gosh, because my mum was at home working and very kindly looking after the horses while we were away. We were basically sending lots of Alan updates, and we thought, oh, we'll go out for dinner at our local pub, at my brother's local pub. How about we take Alan with us? So anyway, this we were chatting to our waitress, and she was very lovely, very chatty, and when you just like get along with a waitress, and we were chatting along with her and that kind of thing. And then as she was delivering us our food, oh my goodness, I was so embarrassed. I started cry laughing, like literal tears coming out of my eyes, because it was Max and I holding up Alan and my dad taking a picture of us, and my brother was trying to like feed him his drink, and oh my gosh, this waitress came on and she must have thought we were the biggest weirdos of all time with this like wooden creepy puppet. And I don't know what she must have thought. But so we were like absolute cry laughing, and we actually have a photo. I don't know if this will ever see the light of day. But we have this photo of me and my brother, because my dad, it was all live. It was like us smiling with Alan, and then we clocked that the waitress was coming over, and then we like just both like burst out laughing. I was crying. Honestly, it looks like some sort of Renaissance picture. Oh my gosh, it's awful. My dad's just showed me the photo. Anyway, so that was that. But anyway, I don't know if my dad was telling the truth or not, but he said when he went to go and pay the bill that, the waitress said, what a lovely family you have. It was so lovely to see you all laughing together. You guys are so cute. And I was like, she thought Alan was cute. Maybe she is also as weird as us, because cute is not the word I'd describe Alan. Creepy, yes. So anyway, there we go. We're now trying to think of different places to put Alan. Oh, I've just remembered a really bad another Alan story for you all. As we're on the topic of Alan, let's just get into it, because if you thought we're weird, this is an even weirder story. So my mum and I were out shopping the other day. We're doing a little bit of early Christmas shopping, and we've basically every single shop that we went into, my mum was like, we need to find Alan a Christmas outfit. And I think it was like a toy Grinch, like a soft toy or a stuffed animal Grinch. And my mum was like, really, really loudly, she said, if we chop his head off and take his suit, we could put it on Alan. And there was a lady that was near us, and she definitely heard, and she was laughing at us, with us. I don't know, I was very embarrassed. I was like, Mum, you can't be saying these things out loud. She was like, oh yeah, you could use his skin. And I was like, no, Mum, that sounds so creepy. Anyway, Alan does have a Christmas outfit now, so my mum was like, oh, we should put Alan at the top of the tree. And I was like, no, that's going too far, too much Alan content here. No, that's getting too far. If we have guests over, they're going to be like, what in the creepiness is at the top of your Christmas tree? I mean, in all fairness, with his Christmas outfit on, he looks like one of those like Nutcracker dolls, which I can't lie. Some of those Nutcracker dolls that you see at Christmas time, they look creepy. I don't know what it is. Things with faces on, statues, they creep me out a little bit. So anyway, that's all the Alan adventures for now. Let me know if you'd like me to continue the Alan updates, or if this is a little bit too weird for you guys. But you know what? It made me cry laugh. It's fond memories, family memories, weird memories. I feel like every family must have some sort of like weird thing that they do like that. Maybe it's not just my family, but anyway, that's the story behind Alan. Anyway, what else have I been up to lately? I filmed a video this week that actually will be this Friday's video, and that is Horse Controls My Life. And that was very good fun. But I don't know why this makes me laugh so much. We were taking photos of Casper on our hack, and it was a very scenic hack, very pretty background. And like always, I was like, Dad, can you please take some photos of us so I can put it on my socials? He was like, yeah, let's go for it. Anyway, Casper, as you guys know, he's a pretty good model horse. Like, he's pretty good at posing for the camera, that kind of thing. Literally, just as my dad gets my phone out to take a picture, what does Casper do? He goes and has a wee. And it's like he did it on purpose. Like, we'd been standing there a little while, like, looking at the view, doing things. It's not like we'd just been riding along and just stopped. And it was like, oh, you know what? As we just stopped, gonna have a little wee. No, we'd been standing there a little while, looking at the view, chatting, doing some filming. Then just as my dad gets the camera out, Casper's like, I know what this calls for. I'm gonna have a wee. So anyway, as my dad's taking this photo, he's like, because I'm one of those people, well, actually, I'm not necessarily. It's normal when we do photo shoots with other people. I like to make sure that the horses are standing square. And that's one thing that Joey is awful at. Like, Joey's good at standing still and looking pretty, but he is not good at standing square. As soon as you get his legs still square, he's like, oh, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to take one hoof forward, and then I'm not going to be square anymore. And you're going to have to come back and put my hoof in place. And this is a really fun game. Anyway, so Casper, I was like, oh, he feels a bit, my dad was like, oh, he doesn't look very square. He looks like he's standing a bit funny. His back legs are out. And because I was on a hill, I didn't realise that he was going for a wee. So anyway, my dad's like, he doesn't look very square. And then I hear this psst kind of sound. I'm like, oh, no, sorry, I'll stand up. Sorry, Casper's going for a tinkle. Wait a sec, put the cameras away. Anyway, so that was quite funny. I found that quite amusing. Casper, maybe not so much. Although actually, if he was shy, he wouldn't have gone to the toilet when the cameras were out. Although out of all the horses, I would say Casper is the most shy when it comes to going to the toilet. He will only go to the toilet if he really needs to go. Like, in our arena at home, I think he's maybe pooed in it once or twice. Like, when I'm on his back, he's really got to be desperate to go. Joey, on the other hand, he hasn't actually done this for a while. I've probably said this once before in the podcast, but he went through a phase. Every time we walked into the arena, we would do maybe like halfway through the first lap, when I would just be walking him to warm him up, he would always do a poo. And I don't know what it was. Like, maybe he just found it funny. He was like, yeah, now's my time to go. My dad's got to go and scoop the poop. I do believe it is a thing, you know, when you go for a hack with a horse or for a ride, once they start moving and that kind of thing, makes everything move a little bit as well. So anyway, that's enough talk about horses going to the toilet. I'm going to move on. We've gone from very different topics in today's video. We've gone from me talking about visiting the King's Garden to talking about my horses going to the toilet. Anyway, that's Esme's Country Life podcast for you all. We talk about all sorts of topics. Anyway, what else have I been up to lately? I had an autumn party with my friends. So me and my friend Lucy, she and I both are very into food. And you know what? After hosting this party, we were like, we need to do one of these like once a month, because we had so much fun. We went and did a big food shop together. We went and did loads of, we just like made loads of food things. So my go-to when I have like a little gathering or a party, I always like to do like a little charcuterie board. I think that's what it's called, where you have like cheese and biscuits and grapes. And it's one of those things where it looks like you've put a lot of effort in, especially if you have like a nice little wooden board and you put everything on, all the nibbly bits, and like arrange it nicely, when actually you have it. Effort-wise, you haven't actually done that much. You haven't had to mix anything together or put it in the oven or cook anything. You've literally got some stuff, plonked it on a board, but it looks really fancy. And then also, I was so excited because I had this little autumn leaf kind of, if you watched my Decorating the Cottage for Autumn video, you probably would have seen it in that. But it was like 3 little autumn leaves stuck together. And they're kind of like little bowls or dishes. And I had one with olives in. I had one with salsa dip in. And then I also had homemade guacamole. Oh my goodness, I love making homemade guac. It's so good. I don't know what it is. The supermarket ones, the shop bought ones, they never hit. They never slap. I always find they're like a little bit watery. They taste like they've probably got a little bit too much salt in for the, preserving it. But if you just get an avocado, chop it up, mush it up, put maybe a little bit of lemon in there, a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of salt, maybe if you're going for a little bit fancy, you could put some seasoning in there, a little bit of chili powder if you want a bit of kick to it. Homemade guacamole, so good. Anyway, then we also had loads of little bowls of like crisps and that kind of thing in. And then because I had all my autumn decorations, it just looked so cute. Also, we made this homemade cheese dip and it was so good. Well, I say we did. Lucy made that, and she is incredible. And also something else that we did that is still, I'd say it's pretty autumny or autumnal, but you could probably do this for Christmas as well. We're in November. It's like the perfect time for it. But okay, this is not healthy. This is not something you should be eating every day, just to put it out there. But this is like the ultimate sweet treats of all sweet treats. Do you know what we did? This is so bad. We got a baking kind of like dish, put dairy milk chocolate bars in, sprinkled it on top with marshmallows that we chopped up, and then we put it in the oven. Actually, what I would recommend doing is melting the chocolate first, then melting the marshmallows, because the marshmallows might have caught fire. We literally put it in for like less than a minute and they caught fire. So that is just a warning. I know some people do it in the air fryer. It probably might be safer in the air fryer than the oven. But a bit like, you know, when you toast marshmallows on an open fire, I had like the, you know, the crispy bit on top, or the burnt bit. But once you peel that off, it was all fluffy and gooey inside. And because it's all melted, then we got digestive biscuits. Also, I feel like if you're not from the UK, these things are going to sound wild, like dairy milk. I remember I heard an American online make fun of us on our chocolate being called dairy milk, and then also digestive biscuits as well. Like that, digestive biscuits just don't like sound very appealing. Like just thinking about digestion. Apparently, they're supposed to be good for your tummy. I don't know. That's when they were first created. Anyway, don't hold me to that. But we would dip the digestive biscuits into the marshmallows and the melted chocolate, and it was basically like a DIY homemade s'more, with it being, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit more messy, maybe it's a little bit less messy. We basically used it as like a scoop, a bit like a tortilla chip in salsa. But anyway, that was incredible. So bad for you, but it tasted brilliant. So if you want a little fun DIY gathering meal idea, I wouldn't even call it a meal, sugary snack idea, then there we go. We had the grapes on our little charcuterie board, so we had some help. I was probably the only person that ate the grapes, I'm not gonna lie. We had olives as well. And to be fair, it was a party. Party food is never really that healthy, is it? And we had hot dogs as well. So there we go. That was our little autumn gathering. It was very lovely. It was a very wholesome time. Everyone all met up, and it was just nice having everyone over in the cottage. I mean, it's not the biggest of cottages. It's not the biggest of houses. We only just about all fit in. There were some people, bless them, that had to sit on the floor. But you know what? It was good vibes. Everyone had a good time. So, well, I hope so. It was my party. But no, that was really good fun. I'm trying to think of what else. My neighbour. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you will probably have heard about this if you watched my recent YouTube video of the horses control my life video. But the other day, I was like, oh my gosh, all the horses were having a spicy time out in their paddocks. And I can always tell because their tails are like all the way up. Their heads are up. They're in like alert, I am a stallion mode, snorting, zooming around. I was like, what is going on? And then I realised my neighbour has come up with basically the scariest contraption that there ever was for horses. It was a tractor with like a hedge cutter on, and it was cutting the hedge right next to the horses' paddocks, which, don't get me wrong, everyone needs to cut their hedges at some stage, like, you know. But the horses, they were not big fans, so we were like, quick, action stations. It was almost like the purge or something was happening. We were like, quick, get them in before it's too late. It was like Operation Get the Horses In. So we were like, quick, we need to bring the treats as well to calm them down. Like my dad's way of basically leading the horses when they're going a bit wild is like, well, I just constantly feed them treats as I'm leading them. That will calm them down, which, tell you what, it's not the worst idea in the world. So we were like, quickly got the horse in. As soon as they're in their stables with some haylage and some food, they were happy. They were in their little safe space. They were fine. But when they were out there, tell you what, one thing I need to tell you is Duke. That boy could not care less. I don't think I've ever seen him. Actually, no, there's only one thing that I've ever seen him scared of. And that's if you wear a new coat. I don't know if I said this before. It's so funny. So we've flown drones over him. He will literally chase the drones. He's like, get off my turf. There's been deer, sheep, everything come into his paddock. He tries to scare them away. The like hedge cutter, he was running up to it, snorting at it, being like, get off my patch. Like vets, farriers could not care less. Fireworks couldn't care less either. But if you wear a new coat, oh my goodness, the world has ended. Because I don't know what it is. if I because maybe it's to do with my job, because I'm very lucky that I do get sent a few different horsey coats, especially if it's a new one and it hasn't been washed yet or hasn't really seen horses, and it still has that kind of new plasticky kind of smell. Oh my goodness, Duke is out of here. He's like, I don't know who you are. You don't smell like my mum. Go away. That's not my mum. Go away. Especially if you had the hood up. Oh my gosh, if you have your hood up as well. He's like, I don't know who you are. Stranger danger. Get away from me. Literally, it's so funny. And then my dad had it the other day as well. He has this high vis coat that he wears a lot when he comes hacking with me. He often cycles along, and I think it'd been in the wash. So over time, it gets a little bit grubby, a little bit dirty. Because it had been washed, it was luminous, it was bright. And Duke was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold the phone. Who are you? Why are you trying to put my head collar on? I don't know who you are. Get lost. Did a little buck. Zoomed away. So fair enough. I don't have to worry about Duke being kidnapped, that's for sure. So yeah, that's my little fun fact about Duke. He's not scared of anything unless it's a new coat. So on that note, I think we're going to finish off today's podcast episode there. I really hope you've enjoyed it. We've talked about lots of weird and wonderful topics. Again, if you'd like to check out Red Post, Black Friday sale, get the good deals, go and download the app. Thank you to Red Post for sponsoring today's podcast, and I'll see you all in the next one. See ya. Bye.